Welcome back again. In this video segment we'll start to work through the geometry creation for this part. On the screen is the completed geometry with x0, y0 at the centre of the part. To speed up the geometry creation I'm going to use Xform Mirror. Let's get going and start a new part. I'm going to move up into the top left corner and click on the icon for New Part. Now one of the first things I'd like to do is change the machine type to a generic HAS. So over on the left in the Toolpath Manager I'm going to click on the plus sign just to the left of Properties, and then next I'm going to click on Files. Now near the top of this dialog box in the Machine Toolpath Copy area I'm going to click on the Replace icon, and then from this list I'm going to select Generic HAS. We're done here, so I'm going to hit the Open button. Nothing else to do here, so right at the very bottom I'm going to hit the OK button. Now we can get started on the geometry. We're going to create a rectangle 3x3 with the centre at x0, y0. So up into Create, and then I'm going to select Create Rectangle. So the Create Rectangle ribbon bar appears and you're prompted to select position of first corner. Well, what I'd like to do first of all is set up the size of this rectangle. So what I'm going to do is click in the white space for width and input 3.0 and then hit the Tab key. Now we're transported over to the height. Now the height of this rectangle is 3.0 and then I'm going to hit Enter. Now before we move on, what I'm going to do is activate the Anchor to Center option. Now this sets the base point of the rectangle to the center point and draws the rectangle outwards from the center. So what I'm going to do is move down, and as I get close to the center of the grid there's my visual cue that identifies I'm going to snap to the origin. So I'm going to pick this point. Looks good. We're done here. So back up on the ribbon bar I'm going to hit the OK check mark. We're done. Before we move on though, I'm going to hit the screen fit icon, and there's our geometry so far. Looks good. The next thing we're going to do is create a pocket at the center of the part. So we're going to go back up into Create, but instead of Create Rectangle this time I'm going to select Create Rectangular Shapes. Now in the top left corner of this dialog box I'm going to click on the Expand button so we can see all the options. Now at the very top base point is activated, so that's good. Down below, this is the width. I'm going to click in the white space for width and input 1.0. Down below I'm going to click in the white space for height, and again I'm going to input 1.0. Now down below for the fillet radius I'm going to enter a value of 0.25 and then hit Enter. Now down below in the shape I've got the rectangular option selected, so that's great. But down below in the anchor point what I'm going to do is select this center point here. Now the prompt, select position of base point. What I'm going to do again, as we did before with the first rectangle, move over to the center, and there's my visual cue that allows me to snap to the origin. I'm going to pick this point. Everything looks great. I'm going to hit Apply. Looks good. And then we're done here. I'm just going to click on the OK button. Next up, we're going to create some center points for the 4.25 diameter circles. So let's get moving on point number 1. So I'm going to go into Create, Point, and then the first on the list here, Create Point Position. Now the point position ribbon bar appears and you are prompted to sketch a point. Now to satisfy this first point, what I'm going to do is click on the fast point icon. Now this allows me to input the x and y values of this point. So for the x I'm going to type in 1.0, then comma, and for the y 1.0, and then hit Enter. And there's our first point on the screen. Now on to point 2. Again, I'm going to use the fast point. Now for this time, for the x, I'm going to input minus 1.0, comma, and for the y value, 1.0, and then hit enter. There's point number 2. On to point number 3. Same again. Going to click on fast point. For the x value, I'm going to type in minus 1.0, comma, and for the y, minus 1.0, and then hit enter. And there's our third point. On to point 4. Once again, click on that fast point icon. X value this time is 1.0, comma, the y value minus 1.0, and then I'm going to hit enter. Now there's our 4 points. Everything looks good. I'm going to click on the OK. We're done here. Now, next thing we're going to do is create the first 1/4 inch diameter circle. So, up into Create again, Arc, and we're going to select Create Circle Center Point. Now the circle center point ribbon bar appears and you're prompted to enter the center point. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is click in the white space for diameter and input 0.25 and then hit the enter key. Now to satisfy the prompt, enter the center point, I'm going to move the cursor over the upper right point, and there's my visual cue that indicates I'm going to snap to this point. I'm going to pick that point. Now everything looks good. I'm going to click on the OK button and it looks great. Now next thing is to create the first 0.25 radius circle. So what I'm going to do is back up into Create Arc, Create Circle Center Point. Now once again the ribbon bar appears and we're prompted to enter the center point. Well, first of all, I'm going to set up the radius. So I'm going to click in the white space for radius and input 0.25 and then hit enter. Now to satisfy this prompt, enter the center point, what I'm going to do is move over, and as we move over this circle, there's the visual cue that identifies that I'm going to snap to the center of the circle that we just created. So I'm going to pick this point. It looks great. I'm going to hit the OK. Now that completes this video. Thanks for watching.